What's going on, Detroit Lions fans? Welcome back in Detroit Den 313, Steve and Will. Listen, this is your go-to source for Detroit Lions content, okay? We do it all. We're diving in. This is the day that me and Will have had circled on the calendar for a little while here. It's officially Lions offseason. Super Bowl is over. It's time to move on. 2025, we're looking forward to it. Before we get into it, I need you guys to hit that subscribe button. Look, I was looking through our analytics today, Will. I'm going to show a graphic here. Right here. This is from the Detroit Den analytic page. You guys don't all have access to this. 40,000 returning viewers. All right. We need you guys to hammer that subscribe button. You guys are coming to the channel. You love our content. You're hitting the like button. You're leaving comments. We need you to do just one more little thing. Go above and beyond just a little bit more. Hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. It takes a millisecond. It could have been done right now. Will, it's that time. I think this is going to be a good episode. I don't know where we're headed, but we're going to dive into some prospects today. How are you feeling? Where do you want to start?
I'm excited, man. This is one of my favorite parts of the season, or off season, I guess you'll call it. Just diving into these prospects, watching film is something I just love to do anyways. Something I'd be doing if we weren't podcasting. So just watching these young guys and then dreaming about guys that could be future Detroit Lions. So we're gonna have a couple of those guys today. I'm not sure who's taking the honors, but I'm excited about both these dudes.
The floor is yours, William. I know that you got a guy that's on your mind. I'll let you start. I'll sit back, listen. I'll chime in my 2 cents here and there. But who are you going? And real quick, I'll say this speaking for myself. I don't know how you feel. Just because we're talking a prospect might not necessarily mean that we're in love with them. Okay, it might not necessarily mean that this is the guy we're taking at pick 28 or trading anything up for. Will, I don't know how you feel, but I'm setting that out there for myself.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not talking about guys I don't like. I mean, and maybe we'll get to that point to if like somebody's like really pushing, because we are asking for you guys to put in the comments guys that you might want us to take a look at. But I'm talking about guys I like, man, because that's what I like to do. I like to watch film on these guys and break down guys that I like. Now, a lot of this stuff is going to be debatable on whether they're guys that are draftable for the Detroit Lions, but I kind of tried to, because I told you guys I had a list of 33, and now that list has went up again because the more you watch, the more guys you fall in love with. But now that list has went up. I don't even know what the number is now, but you fall in love with certain guys. I'm trying not to talk about like guys that are probably going to be in a top 10 pick or whatever, but some of this stuff is debatable. So before we drop the names today, I got a kind of a little bit of a reason why I'm talking about this person, because some people think that they might get drafted earlier than pick 28, which really should be pick 32, but I digress. So today I am talking today I'm talking about none other than Shamar Stewart, man. Shamar Stewart, 6'6", 290 pounds, athlete. And there's gonna be a theme as you listen to me talk about draft picks that I enjoy. It's gonna be athlete. I want athletes on this Detroit Lions team. I want to upgrade the Detroit Lions athleticism across the board at every single position defensively. I want athletes, guys that can run is what I mean when I say athlete. So he fits the mold, man, of somebody that can just be athletic. But, and forgive me, this thing is so small. Hopefully I'm clicking the right one. I am. So statistically speaking, if you know anything about Shamar Stewart, he is not a stat monster. And the first thing I know a lot of you guys are going to look at, because he's kind of a defensive tackle, defensive end guy. He's one of those guys that are kind of like a hybrid player. You're looking at those sacks and you see 1.5 sacks. Why the F is Will talking about this dude? We need pass rushers. We need dudes to run down the quarterback. We need dudes to get pressures and hurries. Here's what I'll explain to you about Shamar Stewart. And I got a couple little clips, nothing crazy, but this is a dude that is an attacker. This is a dude that's athletic. This is a dude that's agile. And this is a dude that may not have had the sacks because his hands are not quite there yet when you talk about the hand fighting. He's kind of just being an athlete out there. He is going to get polished in the NFL, and I think he's going to turn into a dog. I think that he is really what Brad Holmes has been trying to find in guys like Levi Onwuzurike. He's just a guy who can play anywhere from 3 technique all the way out to wide 9. When I think about maybe if we do get that pure edge rusher to go along with Aiden Hutchinson, I think about situations where you're pulling DJ Reader out of there. You have a guy like Shamar Stewart out there next to Aleem McNeil. Then you got Aiden Hutchinson. Man, ooh, ooh wee. With a pure pass rusher out there as well, the athleticism chasing down these mobile quarterbacks would be unreal. Then hopefully we're still re-signing guys like Levi Onwuzurike for those other situations, those run situations, those first down situations, those stuff yardage situations, goal line situations. All right. So, and not that Shamar can't do that. He may graduate to somebody that can play tough in the run game too. So this is a guy that I'm super excited about. The athleticism in comparison to the production is why I'm talking about him as a pick 28 guy or a guy who could get into those 20s and then maybe we move up to grab a guy like this. So just to give you guys who aren't familiar with them just a little bit of perspective, and this is a Aggie, man. This is a guy that a little add that little bit of sauce to it. But just to kind of put it in perspective and let you lay eyes on him a little bit, I'm gonna load in a couple of clips here. So let me pause it so I can show you where he's at. But so when you're looking at this film, you're gonna see him. He's circled right there at the edge position, but he bounces around from outside to inside. So there he is on the edge. Listen, athlete running down the play to the opposite side of the field. You're gonna see him again. The same thing, running out a dump pass. Like this guy,
Rude.
violent,
Rude.
violent player. And then at 6'6", man, he's getting his hands on footballs. If you watch the show for any length of time, you know that I love these guys who can, and this is a stunt game right here, but I love these guys, and I say it all the time, who can make the field smaller. What do I mean by smaller? Hey, you got these long, big 6'6" guys, these long wingspans. They're explosive. Hey, their steps and maybe a just keeping it Detroit Lions related, Kai Wingo step. Hey, Kai Wingo might need to take 10 steps for Shamar's 1 step at 6'6", or Aiden Hutchinson's 1 step at 6'7". So they make the field shorter. They cover ground a little bit faster. They make those passing windows a little bit smaller when they're putting their hands up and they're getting hands on football. So even if they don't make it to the quarterback, they can affect the play by getting their hands on footballs. Those little screen plays and little dink and dunk plays that quarterbacks like to do in the RPO game, these guys can make that tough. That's why I like guys like this, man. I want big, strong, agile, athletic guys that can match the athleticism of these mobile quarterbacks. So that said, Shamar Stewart is somebody that I'm super excited about in this draft. I'm interested to see how he tests at the combine. He has the plus 34-inch wingspan that you want to see as far as what we've heard, but a lot of people can say that we're going to get the real deal when they do those combine measurements, so I'm not going to take too much into it. At almost 300 pounds, he's a 4.7 40-yard dash guy as it stands right now. Again, we'll see how that stands when we get into this NFL combine, but the film don't lie, man. And what he does on film really excites me. So, Steve, Shamar Stewart, how you feel about him?
Like him. I let you pick the guy first because I knew this was someone you were high on. He's probably in my top 10. All right. We don't know how these drafts are going to pan out. We don't know where he's going to fall. I've seen him mocked anywhere from the top 10 to early second round. We don't know. There's a lot of pass rushers in this league, in this draft. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be similar to last year. We want those teams at the beginning of the draft to start taking those quarterbacks, those running backs, those wide receivers. We want more and more options as we go down this line. I think Shamar Stewart at 28. I don't know if I'm sprint to the podium type ready for him, but he's definitely someone that is in my top 10 of interest. I don't have anyone right now that I'm really latched onto. By this time last year, it was Jared Verse. Like I was locked on Jared Verse or don't even bother Steve Perkins going to the draft. Like that's who I wanted from day one. I'm not in that same mode right now in 2025. My availability and I guess I'm a free agent for who I'm going to attach myself to in this draft. I'm looking at all the options. There's a lot of options I like. Shamar Stewart's one of those options. 6'6", 290, and he's running down running backs. I just want to put people in perspective. Like that is a big man. All right. Now, a 4.7 might not be blazing fast for a wide receiver or a running back, but a defensive lineman who is 6'6", 290 pounds, that's about as fast as it gets. Okay. Now, what I'm interested in combine time, we talk about this all the time. Does the film match the athleticism at the combine? If he checks that box, he might creep up a little bit in my rankings. I see a guy who can win his one-on-ones, win his battles. He's a matchup nightmare. He's big, athletic, checks a lot of boxes for old Steve Perkins. I think he checks a lot of boxes for my son, William Ford, as well. Am I right?
Big facts, man. Big facts. And it's one that I didn't talk about. His coaches talk about him as they said, if you go watch the film, and college film is just a lot harder to get, especially all 22 film, but I watch as much as I can get my hands on. But they talked about, and I've yet to be able to confirm by truly watching a full, like I like to watch like 4 or 5 games to get a true feel, but he's an effort guy. So whether they're getting blown out or whether they're blowing a team out or the game is close, by watching his effort, you cannot tell what's going on. Right. So that's what I love to hear, man, because to me, that's a Dan Campbell guy. That's a Detroit Lion grit guy. That's an Amon-Ra St. Brown style, Penei Sewell style, Frank Ragnow, Jared Goff type of dude, man. A dude that's going to give it their absolute all, high motor type of dude. It's just, that was just the icing on the cake for me, man. So he's somebody that I'm looking for. I'm not in the same boat as you, Steve. I believe that this draft is rich with dudes that can rush the passer and just be athletic from a defensive standpoint. And I'm in love with probably about 15 of them. So
is Shamar one of them?
He is. He's one of the ones that I'm in love with, man. I really, really like him. I love his versatility. I think that's a Brad Holmes type deal. He loves these guys that are versatile, but I need versatile guys that can up the athleticism. Levi Onwuzurike is a guy that I really like because of his versatility. I think Shamar is way more athletic than Levi Onwuzurike, which Levi Onwuzurike is serviceable. You're talking about a guy that probably should be a defensive tackle that can go out and take edge snaps. I think Shamar can go out and take some edge snaps and maybe make a more disruptive impact on plays. So yeah, man, he excites me.
I'm ready, William. I saw some comps today for Shamar in some of the comps I like. I really like that someone comped him to Marcus Davenport, a healthy Marcus Davenport. Okay. Marcus Davenport healthy is a problem. So that's a compliment in my opinion. I'm not trying to dog him or compare him to someone that a lot of Lions fans don't like. You give Marcus Davenport 17 games, he's going to wreak hell. He's going to ravage some offensive linemen. I think I could put Shamar Stewart in that same category. So you said top 15. I'm going to ask you this. Yeah. He's available at pick 28. You sprinting to the podium, or are you kind of sitting back, weighing some options? Are you that excited? Where are you at on draft day, you think?
I'll say I love to have him, but there's a few guys that I love more. I'll say that. So it's really going to be contingent on who's there. But if the board goes how I feel today that it would go and he was there, I would be super excited about him being there, man. So yeah, I don't know that it would be an Aiden Hutchinson sprint to the podium, but it definitely be a brisk jog to get there.
8:59, the picks in with Hutch. You know, we might let that clock wind down a little bit with Shamar. You know, hey, maybe we get a trade, maybe something going on. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you never know what might be going on, man. I definitely would still be taking a look at weighing all of the options.
Anything else about Shamar?
Nah, man, I think that pretty much covers it for me, man. Just interested to see. Let us know how you feel about him in the comments, and interested to see how he tests, man, at the combine. So, who you got for us, man?
At the beginning of this episode, well, I'm glad you said something. You said that you won't talk about a guy that you hate. I'm in the same exact boat. And like I said, just because I'm talking to a prospect doesn't mean I'm in love with them, doesn't mean that it's my number one. Again, don't have a number one right now. I'm a free agent. I'm out there looking. I'm mostly interested in this guy. I think that this has piqued my interest. He's probably, if I have a scale of 1 to 10 on players I'm interested in, Michel Williams from Georgia might be number one. All right, he might be my number one. I'm most interested in him, but I'm trying to be nice here. When I was watching his tape today, I woke up early this morning. I did a lot of my chores, got it done. I said, "Hey, we got some work to do. We got to dive into some players later." Michael Stewart or Michael Williams was on my. I was thinking Shamar. Michael was on my radar. He was literally number 5 on my list of names I put down. That doesn't mean he was my number 5 overall, but I was looking at his tape, and I texted you today, and I said I really loved him at first, but the more I'm watching, I just don't find it sexy. So I'm talking about him because I've seen his name in a lot of comments when we put out shows about people asking for it, and my interest, your guys' interest. I felt like, hey, let's dive in a little deep. I'm watching his film, and I wasn't in love, so I wanted to put up some clips, but I'm going to be honest, trying to be nice here. There wasn't a lot of moments where I said, man, I should clip that for tonight's episode and put that on here. I didn't have a lot of that. So what I did was dedicated some time. I'm searching YouTube, and I'm going to tag this guy at the end of this episode because what he did was he took all of Georgia's defensive snaps against Texas this past year, and he put it all on YouTube. I'm going to tag that in the description. You guys can check that out. I can't pronounce his YouTube's channel name, so I don't want to butcher it, but it will be down there. I watched every single snap that he took against the University of Texas, and the moments where he made a play really didn't happen until late in the fourth quarter. All right. Very, very sparingly did he make plays. I love his athleticism. He's in the same category kind of as athletic wise that I think Shamar Stewart's in. 6'5", 265 pounds, a little bit more productive than Shamar. And that's not saying, I'm not comparing the two when it comes to production, but 15 solos tackles, 5 sacks on the season, 2 forced fumbles. When he does get to the quarterback, he's looking for the ball. I'll say that. But when I'm watching his tape, I just don't see the main thing for me is winning your one-on-one. I didn't see him winning a lot of one-on-ones, especially against Texas. All right, I could pull up some tape against UTEP or whoever the slapdicks that Georgia placed at the beginning of the season that aren't really that impressive, but I want to see him going against NFL caliber talent. So I really picked that Texas game. Just didn't see too much, but I'm watching a lot of these draft experts and they're saying the same thing that I'm kind of seeing, and I'm not a draft expert, obviously, but athleticism and his ceiling is so high. If someone can tap into that ceiling and get him productive, he'd be a problem in the NFL. But with where the Lions are, I've had a rule this whole offseason, no projects. I don't want project players, especially in the first 3 rounds, okay? Like we have with Hendon Hooker, Broderick Martin. I don't think that the Lions can afford to do that anymore. I want someone, especially, my rule in the first round, you should at least be getting on the field and getting some meaningful snaps depending on your position. If you're not a quarterback, you should be at least getting on the field. So when I look at Mykel Williams, I'm thinking 3-4 years from now, he might be a real solid player. He might be, but I just don't think that the Lions are in a category or a boat to kind of sit back and wait. So, Will, I know we talked about him a little bit off camera. How do you feel about Mykel Williams?
Man, I like him, and I'm in like with him. I'm not in love with him, but I'm definitely in like with him. Obviously, I love his frame. His frame is like that's what I was just talking about in our Super Bowl post episode. There's a frame out there that I really like when it comes to these edge rushers. But for me, I love positional versatility, man. So if I'm going to draft a guy to do one thing, you have to be in the top probably 20% at that thing. Right. And I really want to say 10%, but you got to at least be in the top 20% at that thing, man. So if you're going to come in, you're going to be an edge rusher, you better be rushing the shit out of the passer. All right. Otherwise, I need positional versatility. I need you to be able to do more things. So that's one of the things that kind of shies me away from him a little bit. But don't get me wrong, he's going to be a hell of a football player. I just don't know if he's the fit for me for what I like. But untapped potential, polished, just a raw freak athlete, 6'5", 260, 270. Dude can run like a deer. You can tell that he hasn't even learned how to use his hands yet. If anything, just virtually every scouting source that you read about or hear talk about him says that he has a ton of untapped potential. You watch him on film, he's being an athlete. I don't know. I'm just kind of with you when you said that we shouldn't be drafting projects anymore. Even though I think his floor is a lot higher than you could even say as calling him a project. It's really, is he going to be a superstar or is he just going to be a guy who starts in the league? But at some point we got to we got to bounce back from last year's draft. And I don't want to make it like last year's draft was crazy, but we took Terry and Arnold, traded up to go get him. And to me, what I see out of Terry and Arnold is he's going to be a damn good starter in the league. But I felt like Brad Holmes went after him aggressively, like he was going to be a superstar. Right. And I hope that he takes that leap forward and he does become a superstar. But from what I'm seeing right now, I'm not on a bandwagon like Terry and Arnold's trash, like some people are commenting and all of this stuff. But from what I'm seeing so far, I'm seeing a solid starting corner in the NFL. I'm not seeing that superstar status, but as I mentioned before, and I won't beat a dead horse, there's guys that I feel like could end up being stars that were drafted after Terry and Arnold. So at some point we got to stop. I guess for lack of a better words, and I don't want to take, I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way, but sometimes when you're the smartest guy in the room, right, you're taking a risk because if things don't go well, then it's like you're an idiot, right? But if you evaluate and stick to the program, stick to what's been working around the NFL, right? Like, because what do we say all the time? It's a copycat league, right? So if you stick to what's been working and follow the blueprint of where the league's at, then I think that it's a little bit harder to miss. Now, again, it's about risk reward. If you stick to the program, you're not taking Jahmyr Gibbs when you take Jahmyr Gibbs. So there are things there are times when you do it, but again, when you decide to be that smartest guy in the room, you're taking a risk. This draft, I want to see because it's rich with guys that I feel like can do the things that we need going in the next season. So Michel, for me, a hell of a football player in college. I think it's going to be a good football player in the NFL, but he doesn't do the things that I want to see for our D-line guys for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I think with where the Lions are, I can't have a project player in the first round. Like I'm pretty stern on that rule. I've always been that way. Like if I'm the Detroit Lions, the only position I'm taking and sitting on the bench for a handful of years in the first 2 rounds is probably a quarterback. We're not drafting a quarterback. We're pretty set there. So I'm looking at this first, second round to get some impact players. What that impact is at least getting on a football field, at least being a little bit productive, at least getting a little trial by fire, maybe getting burnt a couple times or missing a tackle or a sack, something like that. But when I look at like a Manu and a Hendon Hooker who just sit over there in street clothes holding clipboards all day, eventually I need to see you on a football field. So my first round, when it comes to mykel Williams, I think that a team in the beginning of the draft who's kind of going through a rebuilding stage, they can afford to take that gamble and probably ease him into a system. When you're picking in the late 20s, like the Lions have been the last couple of years, you're looking for someone to get you over that hump. You're looking for someone to get you to that Super Bowl, to that Lombardi trophy. You're a lot closer than those teams from 15-1. 15-30 is teams that are right there, probably making the playoffs or on the verge of making the playoffs. You want that first round player to get you there, unless it's a quarterback. So for mykel Williams, I'm not sprinting to the podium. I'm probably not even going to the podium and saying his name. But again, I'm not attached to anyone. If something comes out and in the combine, maybe he blows the door off all his tests, maybe I'll be a little bit more interested. I'm pretty open-minded in 2025. I'm not really latched on to a player that I love just yet. And as I can tell from Will, I think he's secretly a Texas A&M fan because last year it was Edgerrin Cooper. Now it's Shamar Stewart. Do you have a Texas A&M flag somewhere in your house, Will, that I haven't seen?
I got a Dan Campbell flag.
So yeah, like I chose mykel Williams because I'm very interested. But the production's not there. The tape's not great. Doesn't win a lot of one-on-ones. But maybe if Brad Holmes sees something, if he can get him with Calvin Shepard and Tampa Bay Bucks defensive line coach we just hired. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Someone leave it in the comments. Will can't remember either. I'm looking for a bone here, and he's just not throwing me one. If he thinks that I get him in house and I can work with them, and his athleticism's untapped, and I can make him into something. Hey, I guess we got to trust Brad. But anything else for tonight, Will?
Nah, man, that's it, man. I'm just excited, man, to keep going through these draft picks, man, or draft prospects. I'm excited for the draft, the combine, see these guys test. This thing is going to get turned upside down again. I think of guys like I was holding a guy in my pocket by the name of Mike Green, man, because I watched the film and I was like, this dude is a dog. And then he had to just go bull rush somebody at the Senior Bowl and just treat him like a baby. So his stock kind of trickled up after that, man. And then next thing you know, we're gonna be at the combine, and guys that you have never heard of, somebody's gonna go out there and be that Braden Fist, that guy that just tests out of the woodworks, man, just off the charts. So this thing is gonna get flipped upside down and inside out. People are gonna test well, people are gonna test bad. So I'm just excited to start going through that roller coaster, man.
Yeah. So leave some names in the comments. Let us know who you guys want us to look into. We've taken some names down, like Michael Williams. That's where he came from a comment. I obviously knew who he was before that, but I've seen a lot of people start to comment that, and I was like, all right, let's talk about him first, get that out of the way. But I'll tell you this: while I was looking up some Michael Williams film, I accidentally found someone, Will, and I don't know when we're going to talk that episode. Maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's a couple days from now, but I think I found a gem in the second round that might be an absolute steal. So leave it in the comments. Stick around. Hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.